I would like to make a disclaimer that the following video is my final presentation for a class at the University of Arkansas for Medical Sciences and represents a hypothetical scenario. The following presentation does not necessarily reflect the views of University of Arkansas for Medical Sciences or any other agent. Hi everyone, my name is Dr. Johanna Ozone. I'm the Environmental Health Specialist at the Arkansas Department of Health. In this presentation, I will discuss about ozone exposure in susceptible groups. Particularly, I will discuss specific exposures to cyclists. I believe that most of you are members of the Arkansas Bicycle Club, and I hope that this presentation will be beneficial to you. First, let us discuss definition of the term ozone. Ozone is a pale blue gas with a distinctively pungent smell. It's an allotrope of oxygen. So, no matter your workflows outdoors, you cannot be able to see through your naked eyes. Ozone gas is distinct from other poisonous gases like radon and carbon monoxide that are colorless and odorless. Therefore, it means that ozone, even though it's poisonous like radon and carbon monoxide, it has a distinct characteristic of smell. So its distinct characteristic pungent smell makes it different from radon and carbon monoxide. However, all the three gases are equally poisonous. Properties of ozone. Ozone is a colorless gas, as we discussed before. It has a pale blue color. Another characteristic is it is concentrated in the stratosphere region, also known as the ozone layer, between about 10 km and 50 km above the surface of the Earth. This condition is very prevalent in an urban setting, for example, a big city, where there are several industries. Ozone, in most cases in this kind of setting, is man-made. So the formation of ozone is as a result of combustion and industrial activities that results in ozone occupying the layer in the stratosphere region, also known as the ozone layer. Another characteristic is ozone is mostly produced from shortwave ultraviolet rays between 240 and 160 nanometers. This is very true because ozone is mostly formed as a result of where the conditions when the sunlight is very intense and heat is very intense. This is the reason why we can find smoke very prevalent during the summer or especially during sunny days. Another characteristic is that it has a shorter half-life, as short as 30 minutes under atmospheric conditions. It's quite similar to radon. However, as radon has also a shorter half-life, but particularly for ozone, as we discuss here, it has a short half-life as short as 30 minutes under atmospheric conditions. Ozone is made up of molecules, which has several number of oxygen atoms. However, it's unstable. Therefore, within a short duration of time after its formation, it destabilizes and returns into its original form. Exposure effects as a result of ozone exposure. Acute effects include coughing. So people who are exposed to ozone concentration have conditions of coughing, often coughing, but particularly sore throat is a very common incident with people who are exposed to ozone exposure. And because of breathing ozone gas, people who are exposed to ozone might feel pain when breathing because ozone occupies space in the lungs and in the chest area, making it much more burden to breathe because ozone is trying to compete space with oxygen, and therefore someone is not able to adequately breathe. So there's a difficulty breathing. It forms a condition of suffocation, so someone cannot be able to adequately breathe. So this kind of condition is very harmful and very dangerous for people who already have a weak breathing system or who are maybe children or other susceptible groups like elderly. So they might not be able to have proper breathing when they're exposed to high levels of ozone concentration. Chronic effects as a result of ozone exposure include inflammation of the airways. So the airways of the breathing system become inflamed and enlarged as a result of accumulation of ozone. And also diseases like asthma can be formed within longer term. So people who have asthmatic conditions, when they're exposed to uh, an ambient air quality with ozone poisoning, they might suffer asthma attack, which in certain cases can be very dangerous. Other chronic effects include reduced lung function because with long-term exposure to ozone poisoning, someone, someone's lung might fail to function properly or to the optimum level because uh, lung function has been reduced as a result of accumulation of ozone in the lung system. So therefore, clinical symptoms usually appear within hours to days from the time of exposure in the acute stage. However, in the chronic stage, clinical symptoms appear after a year or maybe several years. Therefore, it takes a longer time. The risk factors as a result of exposure to ozone include the following. Persons particularly risk from breathing air containing ozone include children and the older adults. So children particularly, they have a less developed lung system and they cannot be able to properly breathe when they are exposed to ozone concentration. Older people, likewise, they are not able to breathe adequately because their lung system have been damaged, maybe as a result of old age, and they cannot be adequately breathe well, especially in places where there is ozone poisoning, because their lungs function has reduced because of old age, and therefore they cannot be able to withstand additional difficulty when there is ozone poisoning. Other risk groups include people who are active outdoors, especially outdoor workers and cyclists. Outdoor workers generally are exposed to ozone because ozone is present outdoors. However, cyclists are more at risk because even though they're working outdoors, they have increased physical exercise and therefore their lungs is at higher risk of burden from ozone exposure. The more the lung is engaged with the physical exercise, the more the lung has receives more oxygen poisoning when these people are unaware that they are in an ozone poisoned environment. Other risks group include persons with asthma condition. People who have asthma conditions are more susceptible to an asthma attack, particularly when the ozone concentration goes above 0.06 to 0.08 particle per million. So ozone generally affects ambient air quality and reduces the quality of the air, and therefore people who have asthmatic conditions are very highly susceptible to asthma attack. After you are exposed, now what? If the symptoms persist, seek medical attention. This is the general rule. Whenever you feel like you have been exposed to ozone, the first rule is if you feel the symptoms are taking longer time, you must seek medical attention. However, these are some of the precautions you might take as a first aid treatments when you're exposed to ozone poisoning. 1. As a first precaution, when you're exposed to high concentration of ozone, get away from the ozone environment and seek a fresh air. So the simple rule is when you feel like you are exposed to ozone poisoning, first of all, take yourself away from the high concentration of ozone and take yourself away to an environment which has fresh air so that your body can be able to recover from ozone poisoning. Another option is if a respiratory arrest occurs, artificial respiration should be performed. In certain cases, when there is severe ozone poisoning, someone might require hospitalization. Hospitalization might take longer, in certain cases up to 2 weeks, so someone might not recover quickly. However, in certain cases, residual symptoms still occur even beyond that, even though after a longer period of time, all results can disappear and someone can fully recover. The third option is you need to have a good bed rest and analgesics to relieve pain, including medications such as antibiotics as prescribed by a doctor. These are the state air quality resources. You can try it out yourself. The American Lung Association of Arkansas, Arkansas Department of Environmental Quality, Department of Air Division, Arkansas Department of Environmental Quality, Department of Air Quality, and then the Metro Plan Ozone Action Days. In fact, you can be able to follow real-time updated information about air quality in your area before you go ahead and do a cycling activity. Before you cycle for that day, you can be able to check air quality standards for your region or for your town through the Metro Plan Ozone Action Days. These are the references I have gained through this presentation. The Arkansas Department of Environmental Quality, EDQ, Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, and then the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC. Thank you so much. That's the end of my presentation. If you have questions, I can take questions. At this point, feel free to ask any question. Thank you so much.